Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Boys, Season 2, Episode 4. It's called Nothing Like It in the World. So full spoilers for the episode as always, and I have to say I'm enjoying the weekly release schedule. It's only the first one, admittedly.
Me too. It feels natural.
It does. And I almost feel like maybe they intentionally thought, oh, we can go a bit further with the length of the episodes because they're waiting a whole week. They'll be excited to get like a meaty chunk.
Maybe. And I actually have some information on this. It was the showrunner's decision to go weekly, not Amazon mandated.
That is fascinating.
So I don't know how far back that they'd made that decision. They actively, he talked about how it was because of they wanted it to be in the conversation weekly. They wanted it to last. Basically, they saw how the Mandalorian did and went, we want to do that. We want that for our show. Which is kind of what we said Amazon kind of wanted a piece of. But
yes. But I
works.
was not comparing it to that Mandalorian trash. Let's not stroke the Star Wars dick. Okay, let's keep it on
quality
focus.
of the show is not relevant to that point.
Yes. But you like to stroke the Star Wars ego as much as you possibly can.
I do, yeah. It's pretty good.
This is, like I said, is a longer episode. So was the first one, admittedly, but that was the first one. But this was just randomly episode 4, 69 minutes long. And it is packed. It's a very dense episode with a lot of stuff going on. Some very weird interludes with, like, they almost feel like dating tapes or something like that.
Every time it cut back to it, it had gone long enough that I'd forgotten that it was a thing. And then it cuts back to it, I'm like, oh yeah, there's these weird interviews going on. What the hell's this for?
Joe, you say that this saw Mandalorian and that was kind of maybe what inspired the choice, but this kind of feels like it was written with the intention of being week to week, because this episode is so well formed thematically with what it's doing from start to finish. All the plots all fall into a theme of relationships, and this one's no different. In fact, this one
could be just strong episodic writing, regardless of whether it's coming out weekly or not.
It could be, but it feels like they intended for this to stand on its own, and so I mean, I don't know when the decision happened, but I'm glad they made it because I think it's better for basically every show. So
yeah, and just before we actually get into the episode itself, do you remember me telling you they cut out all the Butcher stuff and made a short film about it? And told us, hey, it's going to be a short film. They released it today before the episode on Twitter. It was a 5-minute thing. It was just a 5-minute collection of the scenes put together, and I was like, okay, don't describe that as a short film. Short film implies at least 20 minutes.
Okay, I didn't know this happened. It came out, and obviously haven't seen it as a result. It sounds like a collection of deleted scenes to me rather than anything that's actually...
I think that's what it is, yeah.
How odd. Anyway, so, yeah, these interludes that keep coming up, a couple of them... I mean, I'll be honest, a couple of them I think I've forgotten completely. There's one or two notable ones, though, that were funnier. Particularly the one with the Ed Sheeran tattoo, where she says she effing hates Ed Sheeran at the end of it.
That's good.
It was amusing. And then the final one, which was kind of the more kind of... the sultry one who clearly was ready to just jump on the Deep at any given second, and the Deep's like, that's the one, that's my choice, that's my wife.
and that's the point here where with the Deep, this is his plot. And I thought it was interesting because about 2/3 through this episode, I kind of went, I guess we're just not doing the Deep this episode. We can take an episode off and that's fine.
I never even thought about him during the episode.
I don't think I normally would have done. Just something, for whatever reason, it popped into my head. There wasn't anything that triggered it. I wasn't thinking this was it. It just came into my head at some point.
Nah, I never thought about him. These interludes, I was kind of... They were giving the episode an interesting feeling. Like, it was giving it this weird kind of wraparound that gave it a unique tone. And obviously I was expected to pay off in some way at the end and have some sort of context for what was actually going on. I just didn't know what the context was going to be. So in the last one, when it kind of cut to the Deep's reaction, he was in the room. I was like, oh, this is the Deep's plot for the episode. Okay. And we find out the cult is basically marrying him to another member of the cult. And he really wants this last sexy one, but the therapist, who's not a therapist because she hates therapy, but the therapist, for lack of a better term, is like, No, this is the way you're going with. This will rehabilitate your image. This is perfect to get you back in the 7. This is going to rehabilitate your image in the public eye.
Really manipulative, because the Deep's there going, I thought I got to choose. And she goes, you do, and you're choosing Charlotte.
Yeah. And that's kind of wonderfully tied into everything we see at VOT, the cynical nature of how they're picking people, all that corporate kind of buzzwords, and this will be good for the image. It was just the same thing, but just at a more personal, one-person level. It was just him and his image, and how it'll make him look, that he's in this happy relationship that they're going to have him appearing in. How real it is.
Yeah, and what their end game is. Because obviously,
I don't know.
this isn't for the Deep's betterment. Not really, not at all. This is clearly for their own gain as a cult, but I don't know to what end yet.
Yeah, I don't know who's drinking the Kool-Aid, but someone at some point is going to be handed...
I can tell you who's drinking it. It's the Deep, and he's drinking the Fresco.
But someone at some point is going to be drinking some Kool-Aid, and... Oh, thanks, Kat. Yeah, be squeaky. Creak the door open as loudly as possible. Thank you.
Cats are the worst. What do you want from?
So, and that was basically his plot. But we did have other things going on. Of course, we had a lot of stuff with Homelander this episode. First of which was him going to like a lodge somewhere, and Stillwell just popping out.
There's no way he saved her, right? Just for a few seconds, I was trying to rack my brain. I'm like, how exactly did that go to, like, what exactly did we see?
What are you talking about? We saw her face melted off.
And that's what I was thinking, because then, like, for a few seconds I saw her and I was like, what did we see with that? And I was like, is there any way they could be swerving it? And of course they're not. And I reached that conclusion fairly quickly, but there was just a few seconds where, it had been a year.
Look, it's one thing that you forgot Huey's favourite artist was Billy Joel, and you've been questioning for the last 3 episodes repeatedly, why is there so much Billy Joel? It's bad enough you forgot that, but possibly forgetting that a lead character got her face melted off at point blank range from heat vision would be ridiculous.
I remember that, but in my head I questioned, did we see that or did they hide it? And just for a second I was questioning my memory. That is perfectly plausible.
Okay. I'm just saying the comments have been lighting up with the Billy Joel.
No, I'm actually really glad for this. They're telling me it was all in the first episode, which I do not remember. Clearly, I remember lots of things from that first episode, but him being such a Billy Joel fan, I did not.
Yeah, not that I'm claiming that I remembered it. I just wasn't prodding the bear like every episode.
For the record,
why is there so much Billy Joel? Why is there so much Billy Joel?
For the record, when I brought it up in the second episode, I don't know if it was I don't know if it was the second or the first episode, but the first time I heard it, it wasn't through Huey. He wasn't playing the song, and it was just as music choice. That's when it stood out to me the first time.
Okay.
I feel bad about that. It's fine.
Well, you should. You should feel terrible.
Well, I don't. You
should feel terrible that you accidentally kicked a puppy in the face.
I'll do it on purpose next time.
Oh, well, I'm glad you don't have superpowers, Homelander 2.
I can feel the internet hating me already.
Homelander Operation Ginger. But yeah, so it's just Stillwell, and there's obviously she's sticking her fingers in the milk and rubbing it in his lips, and it's all this icky shit, and it's like, God, what's going on? I don't know if it's better or worse that it's a chubby shapeshifter. I don't know if that makes it better or worse.
I think it's worse, because before at least it was Stillwell doing it, because it was, she was manipulating him, and it was like her, that was her way of doing it. Now it's just...
Hold on a second, though. I mean, I feel like by the end it sort of turned into more she was doing it out of fear, because this was like a last grasp of trying to keep control when she was actually terrified he was going to kill her, which, as it turned out, was rather justifiable.
That's true, yeah.
So, not that I'm saying that this shapeshifter dude isn't also in fear for his life, and that's why he's willing to go through with this. And let's face it, he's going through with a lot of stuff that most people wouldn't want to go through with, I assume. I mean, we see a lot of nasty shit here. I don't think we see the worst of it. I'm assuming that once the camera's cut away here, that Homelander's... doing a lot of things with fake Stillwell here.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know if he is. I think it's possible, but I just don't know.
Okay, well, whatever. What does it matter?
I mean, I think it matters in the sense that it's clearly parental issues is a big driving part of it. So, I mean, I don't know. I'd say maybe we'd see more, but we never will.
I mean, you say that, we literally see him like go. Well, I see. You know what I mean? Like fake Stillwell goes for his cock at one point, and while he turns it away at that moment right there, I don't necessarily think that doesn't imply that this has also been a regular feature of these visits that he's presumably been doing for the last, I don't know, few months, whatever it's been.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like it's a factor of the relationship, and even the fact that when afterwards, when he's like, "Oh, I can turn into whoever you want," and he turns into himself and offers to suck his own cock.
Bit weird, mate.
It's a bit weird. To be honest, I half expected the show to go through with it. Like I was half expecting it to keep going.
Yeah.
This shows, doesn't hold back necessarily.
It does not. We know there's only ever been one scene that Amazon have told them they had to cut for being too far. And I think this one they could have got away with.
Yeah. But yeah, his stuff, he basically, through this conversation early on with the shapeshifter, decides to start cleaning house because he wants to feel like he's the most important one in the seven. And he threatens to kill Annie and basically, has her in the elevator up against the wall. It's a very, very terrifying scene for her. He's got his hand sort of in her stomach, kind of like pressing in, applying pressure, and his hand around her throat as well. But she kind of convinces him that doesn't care about Huey. She cares about not killing people. That's why she wouldn't murder him. She's not willing to do that, and if he's going to kill her for that, then he should go right ahead. She's not going to pretend otherwise. And while she's technically telling the truth about Huey when she says, "Oh, he broke my heart more than anyone ever did," and that, I mean, I actually kind of believe that that's somewhat true. I
think it has to be true. That's kind of like how she gets away with it, right? Is he knows she's telling the truth, so she tells just enough of the truth.
Well, yeah, that's my point, is that that's technically the truth, but it doesn't necessarily mean she doesn't care about him anymore. In fact, as the episode clearly shows, as we go on, she does still care about him, and they have kind of a rekindling throughout the episode. So this inspires her to go off on her plot that ends up joining up with Huey in that. Homelander fires A-Train. A-Train not super pleased about
doesn't take it well
turn of events. He's very upset. And he has a little bit of build up to, because he sees the other speedster, who we did see briefly last season.
He was the one who was having the race against.
Yeah. And he's like, "What's going on? Why is he here? Why is he here?" And Ashley's like, he's just here for just this toddler program I've got.
Vote for Tots.
Yeah, it's vote for Tots. And then Homelander walks in and goes, "Oh, did you tell him? Yeah, you're out. Bye-bye." My favourite part of the scene... My favourite part of the scene is where Homelander's giving him the sort of obligatory bye-bye speech. He's like, "It's been a pleasure working with you, and we'll always be friends, etc." The etc. killed me.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But of course, he is back in later on. At least I would assume so.
He is? Why?
The bit on the talk show when they're talking about the diversity in the seven.
Okay. You're right. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I actually sort of looked at that as well. Yeah, you're claiming A-Train because they're talking about diversity on the seven, but you're not mentioning that you've already fired.
No, I took this as, now he's said this publicly, he has to keep him there at least for a while.
Oh, he might very well, but I don't think that he necessarily made any sort of choices in that scene. I think that was just him, as he put it, he was been hitting with hardballs, and trying his best. Which notably, he also outs Maeve in this scene. He just kicks her out the closet, with no regard for her wishes or well-being. I mean, not that that's surprising for Homelander, but you could see it on her face though, because obviously this woman, the interviewer, brings up, let's talk about diversity. 90-something% of all supers are Caucasian, and there's only 6% that are black, and then there's 2% shared amongst Asians and
anything else, whatever this. I think this is, and others. I think
no, it was Latino. They specified. But he kind of sidesteps the question a little bit. It just says, "Well, look at the seven. We have a black man. We have A-Train. We have Black Noir, who's doesn't really identify as a race. So those are covered. And I'm like, wait on, Homelander, do you think there's people who don't identify as a race? That they're
I think Homelander might think that.
That there's race neutral people out there that I don't... And look, if this is a thing, I'm pretty sure it isn't. I'll happily be educated on it, but I'm pretty sure Homelander is just spouting shit. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Homelander is essentially like the ultimate, hating the liberals and just assuming that's a liberal thing.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And going, oh, so that's covered.
Yes.
That's how I read it anyway.
But yeah, but he's like, oh, we've got a gay person, and just the look in Maeve's face,
and you just know immediately.
And then he name drops the girlfriend. And it's like, obviously she's sitting there terrified. She's putting on the forced fake smile as she often does with these situations. And afterwards, like it's like, what have you done to her? What have you done to Elena? Like, what's going on? And he's like, I haven't done anything. He's like, and he gets really mad when she tries to sugarcoat the truth a little bit about her past with her, about their status right now, about when she ended things with her. All these details that she sort of preemptively keeps trying to make sound a little bit better to soften his ego a little bit. And he just gets angry and sick of the lies, and she eventually kind of comes clean and says, yes, we're together. And he wishes them the best, but much like Maeve, you're standing there going, okay, maybe he's not done anything yet. But the second that he wants you to do something, he's going to threaten her. Like,
it's the same thing where I think she maybe just bought a little bit of time, in the same way with what happened with A-Train, in that, okay, he's just said all this publicly, right? So there's a little bit of time been bought of, if something happens now, that's suspicious. But that's not going to last forever.
Yeah,
speaking of Maeve, on the show we've talked about people's dodgy accents quite a bit, right?
Sure.
Between the not quite English accent that we get from Butcher and the not very good American one we got from Simon Pegg in the first season. I
was so long ago I'd forgotten about it, but you're right. Yeah.
Right, but it came back now that I said it. I heard the actress who plays Maeve for the first time this week, or at least I think it was the first time.
Oh, where's she from?
She is extremely Irish. Like, extremely Irish. It's really strong. And it caught me off guard, because I'm like, oh no, she does a really good job in the show.
Now that you've told me, though, I'm going to be listening for it. Like, see if there's
I was
any
listening
slips.
for it this episode because I'd seen that first. And I didn't hear any slip in this one.
No, I'm going to go back and watch it from the start there, and I'm going to notice she slips the word laddie into like every other sentence.
Can you imagine?
Homelander, me laddie, what are you doing?
That was terrible, by the way.
I know. I can't do an Irish accent.
As long as you know that.
I know I can. Dirty tree. That's 33 in Irish.
It was attempted 33 in Irish.
Dirty tree. Dirty tree. I'm 33 years old, laddies.
I don't even know what that is.
Look, I know I can't do it, alright?
It sounds closer to like an Indian accent than it does Irish.
Well, apologies to the nation of India as well, while I'm on the apology train.
Yeah, get him out of the way.
Hey, to be fair, I don't think my Irish is that much worse than Warwick Davis and Leprechaun, just for the record. I'm putting that out there.
I'm willing to give you that one.
Yeah, listen to it. He's clearly an Englishman trying to do an Irish accent, and it's not very good. Anyway, where are we?
We were just finishing with the Maeve section.
You threw me off track. So Homelander's sort of going on this warpath, and it's almost like he gets a scene with A-Train, kicks him out, although as you say, might not hold for a while. Kind of puts Maeve into a corner here. He's kind of scared the shit out of Starlight. Kind of going through them. He's going through the members, and he tries to go to Stormfront, and like, sometimes when a TV show or a movie tries to do like a sort of bit of pop culture, like they'll try and reference something that's sort of like a thing right now, it can age quite badly, and this might still age badly, but normally it feels kind of cringy in the moment. When Homelander's looking through the memes that people have made about him versus Stormfront, And when it popped up the jealous or the boyfriend who's looking at the other girl,
that
meme,
one got me as well.
It did break me a little bit. I buckled with laughter.
Do you know what I think it is? There's something a little bit timeless about memes, in that I can go back and look at memes from 7-8 years ago, and they can still be funny. Like it could be an older meme, but they're part of the history now. And this meme, I think it's big enough that in 10 years' time, that'll still be part of the history. It'll date it in a way, but every so often, an older meme will crop back up.
This will work because it's the meme itself is the skeleton of which the information's put on. I think memes that have specific information that are relevant to something, they will age very badly. Because this is something you can apply anything to, and it's just the simple, like the idea of looking at one thing when you should be paying attention to the other one. You're desiring this object in the distance instead of the one that's right next to you.
Yeah.
In this case, it's everyone is ignoring Homelander and is looking at Stormfront as the joke.
Yes.
So. No, and it went through them at rapid fire speed after that, and I was like, damn, someone's going to freeze frame all these so we can see all these extra memes.
I can't wait. Reddit, do your thing.
Yeah, I want to see the rest of them because some of the other ones were kind of amusing as well. But because that was such a real one though that's been used heavily in the last couple of years, it broke me. But he goes to her, and it is worth mentioning. By the time we get to this scene in the episode, the revelation about Stormfront being the same as another character had already propped up in the other plot.
I've got some theories about Stormfront. I don't know if you want me to get, because some of them tie into parts of what's going on with Homelander. Other stuff are more just about her identity in general. So I don't know if you want me to save it till after that.
Yeah, well, what we'll do is we'll save this scene, and then we'll talk about this when we tie it into the other Stormfront stuff.
That's a good idea.
Actually, no, we'll just talk about the older Stormfront stuff just now, because the rest of the road trip plot we can just talk about as the road trip rather than
sure.
So yeah, Stormfront's whole thing though is it turns out that she might actually also be Liberty, this superhero from the she disappeared in the 70s, but I think she was operating for a while before that. And the woman that the others are going to see was this victim who was kind of paid off. She watched her brother. I thought it was interesting how they kind of actually brought police brutality into the themes of the show here, by having this very racist superhero kill this innocent black guy who is driving his sister somewhere. And
worth noting that Stormfront is as a hero is from Portland as well, which is obviously. I mean, they couldn't have known when they were writing it, but right now is particularly topical.
Well, on top of that, in the comments, we were informed last episode that Stormfront is also a neo-Nazi message board or something like that. So
yeah, and I actually did notice some other things as well, like on her. So how Homelander's belt is the American Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you've noticed it. It's kind of it's eye catching. Figure he's got the shoulder pads as well. It's the big American Eagle. Stormfront also has an eagle, but hers is actually the Nazi eagle. Like that's what it is. It's obviously it's missing the symbol underneath it, but it's the same design. And I think it's really interesting. Again, that being the counterpoint to Homelander being this patriotic American, all American. I think it's interesting, and then and her being.
I think at least before we start going any further with it, I think the base point is that just because we could have evil capitalist scum here doesn't mean the evil from elsewhere that doesn't also exist.
Of course. Yeah. But the idea that it's these two fighting is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, and we don't have a dog in the race, do we? Or a horse in the race, I suppose.
They're both just as bad as each other, right?
You're kind of hoping they just kill each other and take each other out in the fight.
That'd be lovely.
But so that scene, because it's even the specific idea of being pulled out the car as if he's been pulled over, just really conjured a lot of those real world images. And then you think back to the last episode, not only is she really racist, and this is something that I think we forgot to mention, but again, one of the comments they'd point out is that everyone she kills on the way up throughout the building is either black or a minority of some kind. She isn't killing white people.
At least the first ones we see, because obviously there's a lot that happens when we're outside the building.
Why she want to give her the benefit of the doubt and assume she killed some white people?
I'm saying we know 50 odd people died. We know that we saw her kill maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, but the show's making a point of showing us
It is.
those
I think
specific.
those are the ones they showed.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing.
That's very specific, and
It is.
if this is a community that's got a high percentage of a particular race, then
It makes sense. Yeah.
that's all more to the point. Which, by the way, I did kind of love that they started off with the memorial wall in front of the building. I thought that was a really nice touch to show just how extreme this was, like how many people died in that ridiculous display of like violence and power as she was going up to that building. It really made it feel like some sort of terror attack, which obviously they're not all blaming the right person in the public eye, but it really gave it this sense of like something that tragic, which I thought was a nice touch. They add some weight to the, because it felt horrible last episode anyway, because she was being awful, but that's really made it feel like a sort of cataclysmic kind of thing in the news, I suppose. So, but yeah, we find out it's the same person, and obviously personality-wise, from what we hear in this like flashback that we see in here, definitely lines up with her personality. And then the woman says, "No, like she's not dead. This is her here," and she points to the newspaper at Stormfront. She's not aged a day. She's clearly immortal or
and
aging
obviously
slowly.
they speculate. Well, it's possible that Compound V could do that. There's no reason why not, and I agree.
Yeah, it could do that in the sense that just could be one of her powers, is that she doesn't age. At least
there could be more to it, but it could be as simple as just that.
Or at least she ages slowly, if not aging completely.
Yeah. So my theory on her identity, I think last time I said, kind of she is Vought. I would not be surprised if she is Vaught's daughter, like the original Vought. If maybe she was even like the first baby to have been given Compound V, like she was the test subject. Maybe that's why she doesn't age. Maybe she was given a stronger dosage or something.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember if we found this out in season 1. Did we find out if Homelander was the hero that wasn't given Compound V, that he was natural?
I don't think so, and I think that's kind of why that was a whole big thing, just like last episode or the episode before, where it was, being kept a secret from him that he didn't know about Compound V, because it was given to him as well, I assume.
Did the episode explicitly state that? And then as far as the public were concerned, as far as everyone else was concerned, he didn't know.
Well, I mean, Ashley was very worried about Homelander finding out about Compound V, and
finding out that it leaked and that the public image had changed, not that he was finding out about the compound.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I remember talking last season about him being the only one who wasn't created from Compound V, and that he might even be the genesis of it in some way.
I mean, you could be right. I don't actually remember that.
Which,
but I mean,
admittedly, Liberty kind of predates him given his age, so that kind of puts a wrinkle in that if that was the case, or that was what we were thinking. Because I remember talking about it last season. Now, if there was something last season at the end that did actually confirm that wasn't true or whatever, then let me know in the comments, because I can't remember. I don't remember that being.
There would be a very twisted irony so obviously we know Compound V is the primary method.
Yes.
Of giving powers. However, it seems that it can be passed on genetically, right?
Yeah, hereditary. Yeah, because Homelander's kid is quickly got powers.
Again, it's possible they gave him Compound V as well, and it just reacts in the same way because of the similar DNA. That's a possibility, but the way I've been reading it so far is he's just inherited the powers directly. That's how it seemed. If Homelander was the first to be born that way, it stands to reason that it was passed down from his parents. And, what about Stormfront?
You're speculating that Stormfront is his mother.
I think, I'm saying it's possible.
She does kind of imply she wants to screw him in the
That would be on brand.
I mean, it wouldn't be completely out of the ordinary for the show to dabble in a little bit of suggested incest, but that would be an odd thing. Now, admittedly, that entire theory about Homelander, again, assuming I haven't forgotten some specific reveal last season that disproves it anyway, is kind of thrown out with the existence of heroes that predate him. So
yeah, unless again, like I say, he's the first one who was born with it, which could still track. If he's the first natural, right?
Sure, yeah.
That could track.
Actually, could that coincide with when she disappeared? Because she said she disappeared in 1979, and his age, he's like what, early mid-30s, something like
Yeah, give or take.
I'd have to be like 40.
I mean, you could tell me he's 35, 40. I don't know how old the actor
I have no
actually
idea
is.
either. I mean, you could tell me he's 40 and I'd believe you.
He is. He's 44.
Oh, is he? He's looking good then.
He is. Yeah.
Looking good, Homelander.
So I'd say the timeline
that could
plausibly
be,
works.
That could be why she disappeared, is because she got pregnant.
Yeah.
If that is the case. That said, though, again, she did try and imply some screwing. And
Doesn't mean
let's
she
see.
necessarily knows.
It's a weird thing to forget.
Not that she had a kid, but that it's him. Jesus, because obviously, assuming that this is the case, he was obviously taken away at birth and was raised in a lab. We know that for a fact.
Does that strike you something that something with her power level would let someone do? In fact, on that point as well.
If it was Daddy Vought, maybe.
On that point though, is her powers the same as Liberty's, or has the powers changed in the last 40 years?
I don't know. We don't see enough of Liberty's powers to really.
Because
know,
her powers
do we?
are, because we see her at the press conference or whatever. Like we see her literally fly up like Storm using her lighting to those are pretty distinct and visually.
They are. I mean, I don't know what Liberty's powers were. 'Cause, I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, if she's just got if as Liberty she was just using enhanced strength, because that's pretty much all we would have seen in that sequence in the flashback.
It's entirely possible that this is less of a immortality thing and more of a some sort of renewal thing. Like maybe I don't know. What if her power is more something like she gets to not reincarnate, but
it's you're getting a little bit Doctor Who here.
But she gets to kind of she changes and she gets different powers every time she changes, kind of thing.
Yeah,
because there's an on the nose line when she's talking to Homelander about changing with the times. Now, obviously, she's using memes now. She wasn't using memes in the 70s because it's the 70s. But so there's an on the surface level to take that as. But she's also got a different look. She's got a different haircut. She's got all this stuff about her's changed. Maybe she's literally changed her power set and everything through whatever maybe her real power is the ability to, I don't know, rebirth herself. I don't know.
No, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I'm thinking kind of like Doctor Who regeneration, but instead of changing the face, it changes the powers and maybe does make her younger as well. Again, who knows? We don't know quite how the aging works yet.
I would maybe. That's just possible. I'm just giving it another.
Yeah, I'm not completely disregarding it. There's a lot we don't know right now, and there's a lot of speculation happening. And this is why I like the weekly release, because no one's ahead of us. No one can just come in the comments and go, "Nah, you're wrong." No one. Okay, people can be watching this in the future and be like that, but no one is watching this the day we put this up and go, "You're definitely wrong. You got no idea what's going on," and then they're laughing at the stupid theories.
Sorry, if you've been in the internet, some people will definitely phrase it that way.
Okay, they will think that, but they don't know.
Yes.
They're gonna proof, and I don't want to hear any bullshit about the comics, the source material. From what I've gathered, they have changed quite a lot already, pretty drastically. So, it's all fair game here.
Yeah. So no, but no, this was all fascinating stuff. It's definitely made Stormfront. I mean, she was an interesting character the way she was challenging things in the first couple episodes, but last episode gave her this edge, this darkness. This episode gave her this, and even just the idea that this everything she was around a long time ago and is still there. It's came back and it's stronger than ever. That is a theme in and of itself. That is the evil just doesn't leave, and
I really like this idea of how it obviously it explains a lot of her personality. She's kind of being really blunt and not caring, right? Because done all this before. She knows not what to expect, but she's got a good handle on it. She's had time and experience, but also just this idea of her stoking up the public, and obviously we're speculating maybe she is on Vort's side, right? Not the Seven side, but on Vort's side specifically. And here she is stoking up the public, seemingly in anti-Vought, hysteria is the word I would use.
She's talking
really
about,
interesting to me what the game plan is.
Yeah, she's talking about the corporate side. She's talking about how it's all just a scheme to make you buy tickets to movies, their energy drinks, and all the stuff they sell. Like she's going really anti-Vought, which I don't know. Maybe like, is there some sort of weird corporate thing happening as well, where like who has picked her to do this, whoever higher up is still alive or like in charge behind the scenes, like are they like essentially trying to like beat their own company, because if they change company, because it's time for a fresh coat of paint, so we'll have Vought look bad and then we'll overtake them with another name, and then
it's almost a way of rebranding in a sense, as get away from Vought the pharmaceutical company and into whatever their next stage is, changing with the times, as she puts it.
Yeah, and maybe that's how, the idea of Vought and the Seven, even if the names change, ultimately they're eternal, because they keep, redoing things and shaking everything up.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting stuff thematically for sure. And she is a Vela character. He's also obviously a Vela character. Everything in this scene about him whining about, no, this is all mine, and I'm the one everyone looks up to. How dare you try and take that from me? And again, everything when he goes back to the shapeshifter, which ends with him snapping the shapeshifter's neck, like everything the shapeshifter's saying is all this like feeding into his toxic masculinity and his ego. It's all about, no, you are the best, and no, they will love you, and no, you're all you need, and you're like everything. And I'm like, this is like so unhealthy. This is like the most unhealthy thing to give a guy who has this mind, like,
and
like
that's
this.
pretty much what Stormfront calls him out on. It's like, you know what, you don't need to be loved by 50 million. You need 5 million who will, hate for you. The way she's, you don't need fans. She's got an army with what she's got, and it's this difference of ideology. He's so petty and personal, and it's all all about him, and she's just using it. Like, she doesn't care. All the stuff that she's saying about Vought, she doesn't. I don't think she believes any of it. I don't think she gives a shit. She's just riling people up for whatever purpose she has. Whereas,
she's got an agenda, but the agenda is not to take down Vought. That's serving whatever her actual purpose is.
Right, exactly. Whereas Homelander's agenda is genuinely public adoration. He wants to be worshipped. He wants to be a god.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
So, yeah, and he stabs the shapeshifter's neck and says, "No, I don't need you." Like, he's it almost feels like he has went through a change, and this is where I'm saying it feels like a really full-formed episode. And that Homelander's plot, like here, is ultimately he goes through trying to do all these things until he hits this brick wall with Stormfront, and then says, and comes to this realization on his own that no, I just need me. Like, this is me. I don't need you. And snaps his neck, and he's lying there dead. He did get to play off himself a little bit though when he was, the shapeshifter was looking like him in lingerie, which was definitely a visual.
It was,
which will be
memorable,
sticking in all of our minds for quite some time, I imagine. So,
I'm sure it will.
Yeah. No, so that was Homelander stuff, super fascinating. The road trip stuff, I really liked as well. I thought this was, I had a lot of the heart that this show kind of surprises with last season. There's such a feel-good moment when they're going through the radio and like Starlight's getting really pissed because every channel, like every station, is her singing. Like, let's come on, mother effer, come on! And then she hits on what else but Billy Joel, and her and Huey singing perfectly. Because he sings first, I think, and then she starts singing the next part, and then they smell each other, and then they both start singing.
He definitely starts because obviously Billy Joel is established, and it's when she joins in or does the next bit, he just looks so happy. He's like, oh, she knows this one.
And then gets so upset and turns it off because he's not having this. He's not having this drumming on the roof of the car nonsense.
He's not having this fun. I did like, he's like, this ain't a date. I'm not your chaperone.
Why I really loved it, even just from before this, because Huey meets up with her just to kind of catch up with what's happening, and she's feeling a little bit defeated. A, because she's just had that elevator confrontation with Homelander, but B, because they went through all this effort to reveal the Compound V, and they've just kind of let it bounce off them. Like, it's not even done anything. Like, they've somehow spun it into a good thing, and here we are. And she's like,
depressingly real, isn't it?
Yeah, and she kind of breaks down, and he's going off because he's had this call. But he has this idea, and he shows up to with her. He's like, let her come, let her be a part of this, let her feel like she's, achieving something. And it's an interesting shake-up because we get to see her and together. In fact, one of my favorite scenes of the episode is them together just sitting talking over donuts.
Over the donuts.
Which,
yeah.
How do you bond with people? You bond over donuts, people. Donuts bring people together.
It's true.
Right?
I got nothing.
Right? And we get this, both of them talking about their fathers and these fond memories of basically sugar treats. With him it's the ice cream and his dad trying all the flavors. Her with the sneaky donut. Because the mum wouldn't let her have donuts because weight gain was a criminal offence,
So a capital punishment, a capital crime, I believe she called it.
Even more extreme.
Yes.
And it was just nice to see her interact with some of the other members of the team. Who, I mean, she's been in scenes with them briefly, when she was saving their ass at the end of the season.
This is different. She's in a civvies.
She's in her civvies, and I like the idea that
Annie, not Starlight.
The next time that Annie's inclusion or integrity is brought up in front of Butcher, I love the idea that now might also say, hey,
it's not just Huey who he can write off as, well, you're trying to bang her, which is how Butcher obviously sees it.
Yeah, which is partially true, but he's also does believe in her. It's not just that.
It's not just that. Huey is right, and now he'll have someone a bit more objective to back him up.
Yeah, so no, I love them kind of bonding a little bit. And even Huey and Annie kind of again, he bunks with with and he's snoring to high heavens, but he gets a text from Annie when he's trying to sleep. It's like, hey, and it's just this little text saying a vending machine conundrum, what do I get? And
it's clearly an invitation to, hey, come and meet me out there.
Yeah, and he goes and they're bonding over chocolate. They end up having sex and they're looking at each other like giddy little kids the next day, and you can see it in his eyes. He knows what's happened.
He hates that he's third wheeling on this.
He knows what's happened. We should mention though, before they get to the motel, there is a scene where a truck hits a car by accident. It's not a malicious thing, or
it's just a car accident.
Yeah, it's a happenstance kind of thing, and she's already going to hero mode to go and help people. And we can't draw attention, because if we draw attention, they'll realize you're with us. Homelander will know, which you know is dangerous, because the whole reason why they think this is safe to do is because they're out of town, they're away. They didn't get away with it. So as it's nice to see her actually struggling to have to leave, but they're not being cruel when they say, hey, there are literally dozens of people already here calling for the ambulance.
The emergency services are coming. Yeah. There's only so much you could do now to help anyway, and this is more important.
Yeah. So, but it is nice to see that moment, because it's just to remind you that she is a good person fundamentally, and ultimately that's what her goal is. And I so badly want to see her F up Stormfront. I so much. I want to see, because as much as, okay, we'll get some satisfaction out of her and Homelander beating the shit out of each other, I kind of want to see one of the good guys get a good lick in,
Yeah.
It will be so satisfying. So satisfying. But they get to the women, and we talked about some of this, obviously, the reveal here. But we do get to hear MM's kind of, because I think that's something we brought up a lot in the first season, is that we didn't know what his reason was for being on this team, his reason for going after Vought. We brought that up a few times, I think, last season, because we found out some of the others, notably, Butcher and Huey were at the forefront, but
yeah.
we knew about some of the others. His was oddly absent the entire season, and I kind of liked how it came out here. It came out in a way where he was trying to, because I think we were expecting him to find this Liberty, right? Like, oh, she's in an old folks home out here, and this is where she is. They're going to talk to Liberty herself, and
that's what they expect as well. That's why, it's how Huey convinced him to let Annie come. It's like, well, hey, if there's a super there, we could do with having some backup of our own.
So we're expecting it, but what it actually is no, you're there to talk to this woman about Liberty, and she tells her story, but they only get in the door because MM's able to essentially sort of connect and say, hey, Vought did me wrong, and basically this led to the death of my father, which was actually really, because even though I think the story with Annie was fine on its own, because it was a nice bonding moment for the pair of them, it was really nice how that kind of set up to get the sort of darker side of it here later on, to kind of connect with this woman. And yeah, so I thought that was well done. Her sitting telling her story with all of them just kind of listening and sort of reacting in horror, I thought was really well handled as well, in the way it kind of showed them just kind of being respectful and just listening to the story. I thought was a nice touch. So super dark stuff. The only thing, and it makes sense, but the way that Annie kind of brought up when they got back about, okay, we can't do that again, we kind of just have to go our own separate ways. Now, it wasn't like a heart wrenching breakup or anything like that, because it was very clearly you get the motivation. She's like, look, it's kind of like it's the same with what Maeve had before. It's basically like, yeah, if Homelander finds out, we're both dead. So,
Yeah, pretty much.
But I
it feels
almost,
a little bit TV, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels a little bit TV. Especially since at least, and I hope for the love of all things, Huey, next time you do have to talk to her, don't lie about anything. Like if he lies to her again, I'm going to be so pissed.
Yeah,
I'm going to be so pissed. But there's a lot of heart in this, and I think episode 3 was fantastic. I thought episode 4 was also pretty fantastic and felt so defined. And we haven't even talked about like 2 of the subplot shit, but it's so defined in what it's doing, and it felt like it had the heart, it had the darker satire, it had all these things that I know that the boys can bring to it.
I think what's so impressive about this episode is there's basically no action. Not really. And I think the fact that it can be this good an episode, it can have this much character drama, it can have this much still satire, without having the over the top, I don't know, bursting through a whale on a speedboat, for example.
Oh yeah, when I complained about episode 1, it wasn't because I thought it needed action to work. It's not the action specifically.
No, that wasn't intended as a dig at you. I'm sure there are some people out there who will claim this episode was boring because it didn't have any of the action that they're expected. They're wrong, but I'm sure they exist.
It may. I mean, I don't know if I like it more than last episode. I might, but I definitely like it more than the first 2. Easily. Yeah, I think 3 and 4 are both.
I think it's possible that 3 is a more fun episode. Yeah, but I think this might be a better episode.
Yeah, and you have the characters splitting up a little bit. Obviously, we've talked about them. So where's Butcher and all this? Well, Butcher gets the information from Grace at the start about where she is, and she, even though he failed to deliver the quote unquote terrorist, she's like, hey, no, I'm giving it to you because it's my fault you were gunning after Homelander all those years. I convinced you that she was dead. Like, that's on me. I need one less person on my conscience. And she gives him the location, and he sort of sneaks in. He gets there. He sees her. They go to this bridge, but there's no cameras. They can sort of have a private moment, and it gets very private. They end up having sex in the car, but they plan this escape. And I think what was good about the way this was handled, and I don't like it as much as some of the other stuff in the episode. I think the Homelander and the Huey Annie stuff is my favorite stuff of the episode. But what I do like about this, and the way it's used really ingenious in the character plot itself, is that the entire time they're kind of reuniting, they're hugging, and they're having conversations about how they are and how they feel and their plans and everything else, and she's kind of apologizing for him being so hell-bent on like trying to kill Homelander, and as we find out later, she didn't go to him and tell him what had happened to her, that it was indeed a rape, and that she didn't tell him because she knew he'd be obsessed with like trying to get Homelander, and it would end up in his death, and she didn't want that to happen. But what I liked about how all this was handled is the entire time I was thinking, it's so weird that they've not really talked about the kid. Like, they're not bringing up the kid. And it was this like shadow over all of this reunion the entire time.
It was a sad predictability to this plot, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole time you kind of know she's not going to leave the kid. No chance. But
when it does get kind of brought up that he's going to come, like, he kind of goes along with it, but it's kind of this thing where the entire time it feels odd how little they've really talked about, like, the kid and how he exists and what he's like, and he's not asked any questions about him. Not really. Like, there's one or two small exchanges, but not much. And it's that thing where when she eventually says, when she shows up the next morning and she's not packed, she's not with the kid, and she's like saying, I can't go with you, and she says, you're going to think of a way of eventually leaving my son behind. And it works so well because I felt the absence of the conversation about the kid the entire time. And it's like it's clearly the idea, and he says it's because, he's a super, Vought's going to want him because he's worth this much money. I think deep down, something, even if he doesn't want to admit it, I think he feels weird about the kid because it's Homelander's son. And there's a part of him that, I don't think he's not ready to selflessly accept that this kid needs a father figure like him, or he doesn't want to accept, because this is someone else's son. This is... And not even just someone else's son. This is a product of a really violent, incident. This is something horrific.
Yeah, and it's someone he's just spent, I don't know, a decade hating.
Yeah. There's so much wrapped up in this. There's so many elements to why he feels conflicted about the idea of this kid.
It's why you kind of believe it, that she's going to stay with the kid, because she's right. You know, as soon as she says you'll find a way, it's like, of course you will. We all know this. There's
And
no
he
ambiguity
eventually
about that.
drops the charade, and he sort of says, "Look, he's worth all this money. They'll never let him go. But if they have him, they'll stop following us. They don't care about us." And
she's like, yeah, but then who's going to raise him? We'll have a whole other Homelander on our hands.
Not that I didn't like her, but she was fine before, right? I think that moment, that line where she says, "I need to raise him so there's not another Homelander," instantly made her such a well-formed character, because all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I am so on board with why you think I mean, not beyond just your motherly instincts, obviously, but
yeah, I'm sure she genuinely does care for her son. I completely believe that as well.
But her thinking in those terms and thinking, if I don't give him a proper, if I'm not a good mother to this kid, if I don't raise him in a way where he is a good person, then he's going to be Homelander 2.0, and the world cannot have that. We need someone
it's really
better.
Taking that pressure of parenthood that people feel and cranking it up to 11, isn't it?
And I think that even just like if you dig into the thematics a little bit here, the idea that she's determined to have her son grow up and be a good man who's not a rapist, the idea that any woman who's had a child from an incident like that, from sexual assault, wants to create someone who is better, and the world will be better because there's more better people in it. But in this case, obviously, it's magnified by 1,000,000 because it's someone who has the powers of Superman. So there's thematic points in there to really latch onto. So I think because Becca up until this point has been very much a plot device, because she and that's fine, because she wasn't like a character who was around. She was there as the motivation for Billy. I think this motivation for her and why she wants to raise her son to be a good person actually lets her take a bit of agency. It lets her take her own character into herself. She's not just a part of Billy's plot anymore. She's now her own character with her own goal and moral compass.
Yeah, and would you agree that it's fair to say, obviously she wants her son to be better than Homelander. I think she wants him to be better than Butcher as well. I think that's part of it as well. It's she doesn't want him to raise the son either, as much, even if she thought maybe he won't turn him in or get rid of him somehow. I don't think she trusts him to raise this particular child.
I think that actually ties into something we've been saying a lot about, how the show's in a lot of ways is about Huey's going to be a better Butcher than Butcher.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of what we've been talking about, how he's like stuck in this cycle of vengeance. And honestly, like if he is going to sort of turn over a leaf and sort of go out with some redemption and is a better person, I'm actually a bit more convinced he might do that now that his own wife is like saying, "I'm not coming with you because of this." I think those lessons might actually stick to him a little bit more than they might have before.
It's possible. Alternatively, he could kind of go all in.
True. I mean, I'll put it this way. I feel like, at the very least, he'll accept that he's morally grey and sort of at least, understand his role, but also understand he can't be a part of the perfect sort of world that he's trying to create. He's kind of the how do I put this? I'm thinking of that speech in Serenity where the operative talks to Mal about the building better worlds, and I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, how's he coming from?
He used to exist and do the evil things that he's going to do.
What did we compare it to when we did the Serenity review?
I actually can't remember what we compared it to.
Because I'm sure we did.
We did, but that's the one that's coming out of my mind right now.
Yeah.
Which in Serenity, of course, was the movie that came from Firefly, which was created by Joss Whedon, the creator of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Too many steps doesn't count.
What? No, the more steps, the more impressive it is.
That's not how this works.
That's how it works. Don't even start.
Bullshit.
Fine. So, yeah, I mean, I thought so. Despite the fact that this was I still like this less, and maybe because of the predictability of it just being she's going to decide not to go. I still thought so much of it was handled so well, and it did a lot of really smart things with the characters. It's
a little bit conflicting because you say you like it less because of the predictability of her not going. If she had gone, I feel like we would have had more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like we would have had more concerns with.
I think we could have accepted it at least at face value at first, just under the guise of, well, this isn't perfect and there's going to be issues that need to be addressed with Butcher, but is it better than Homelander knowing where you are and like coming back for your son? We could have accepted it at least at that level for a while.
Probably, yeah.
But at least this way, it's like, he knows where she is. He can get to her whenever he wants to, though. Although we should mention the minor subplot with Black Noir, who does see him on security camera. He forces the poor tech girl to keep looking for him. She's
who is eating the same chocolate as the ones that Annie likes.
Yeah,
the almond ones.
Yeah, the ones that we've never heard of because they're clearly
honestly. There was so many just names of chocolates that I'd never heard of here that I was like, I don't know if these are American chocolates that I don't know, or if they've just made these names up for the show.
I'm going to say they are real just because the US is such a big place that there's actually regional things where someone in the Northeast won't actually have heard of something that's in California, for example, because even fast food chains are like that there. So I'm going to buy that just this region of the US has these things.
No, I buy that as completely plausible and possible as well.
Yeah.
But also this show, it has its own branded energy drinks. It has all sorts, right? So I'm like, I don't know on these.
That said, though, when she was talking about, like, she should admit, I mean, they were talking about Baskin Robbins and Dunkin' Donuts, I'm pretty sure, earlier.
They did at those points,
so,
yeah.
Those are definitely real things.
Yeah, they are indeed.
Yeah. I do like a milkshake from Baskin Robbins, I do have to admit. Now that I'm thinking about it.
I hate you.
What? Oh, because you can't have one anymore.
I love milkshakes.
I gave up milk last year. And in the time since I gave up milk, I have had one milkshake. I decided it's something that I will give myself as a treat once in a while. But it's literally been once in a year, so I'm not going to be too mad at myself.
I mean, that is literally poison to me. Like, not even figuratively, literally. And that sucks.
Go on, then. Go on.
You try to encourage me.
I'll to break up my bad Irish accent again, I'll do the women from Father Ted. You know, they're like, go on, have a cup, go on, go on. And if you've never heard of Father Ted, just find Father Ted and watch it. It's a good time. Good comedy. So, okay, what have we not talked about? Because there's definitely one subplot. Frenchie, yes. Again, relatively minor in the.
It's only like 2 or 3 scenes.
Yeah. He has an awkward moment.
He's very high. We should point out at this point.
Yes, he has an awkward moment with Kimiko where he kind of tries to kiss her. It makes things weird. He runs to his ex / on and off again girlfriend. It's kind of like casual relationship, I guess.
Yeah, I think we saw her quite a bit the first season. She was
back at the start,
providing him gear and stuff.
Yeah, back at the start we saw quite a bit of her. And he's really upset, and she kind of questions, like, will you try to make her feel better, or will you try to make you feel better? Like, think about it. But he does show up to stop, because Kimiko's going to try and kill Stormfront when she's at her
in
rally.
In public, as she's making a speech against soup terrorists. And it's like, I don't know if Kimiko could kill her. Like, I don't know if that's even possible with the power level discrepancy we've got going on
I
here.
definitely hope she tries.
I do as well, but if she'd done it here and now and had succeeded, she'd have just made Stormfront into a martyr.
Yes, that would have been a bad move. Frenchie's able to get to her in time, no one stop her. But, yeah, so. I don't have much to say on this. Obviously, we expect Kimiko's plot to sort of bubble and kind of rise, and I think we could get a cool thing at some point where Starlight and her team up, maybe, against Stormfront. Maybe we'll get like a...
I'm all for it.
Because Stormfront's clearly very powerful, like super powerful.
Yeah, I think this episode, if nothing else, the pairing between Annie and MM has shown that unconventional pairings can really work in this show. Ones that, we don't really think about, that we haven't seen much of. When you throw them together, it can really work well.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, actually, just to go back to Butcher. Now I'm thinking about it, because when Butcher's leaving at the start, he doesn't speak to anyone but MM, and he says, well, you're leader now, I'm done. I'm going to have to get my wife, I don't care anymore. Kind of a dick move, honestly. And now his wife has basically said, no, I'm not coming with you. Like, does he go crawling back now? And, like, he tries to be leader again? Like, what is Butcher's direction from here precisely?
I think he strolls back in and pretends nothing happened.
He probably does. That sounds like him. So, which might lead to more conflict where no one's on his side, because now MM's like, no, you abandoned us, and quite frankly, I think Annie is a great ally, and we're going to use her help. So I'm looking forward to these things. So I thought it was a great episode. It's funny because I felt bad after the first episode because I had such a kind of lukewarm. I wasn't like super negative, but I was lukewarm on it. And 2 was better, but 3 and 4 have both been fantastic.
And now we've gone like an hour on this episode.
We have, yeah. This has been about an hour.
I think easily the longest we've talked about any episode of The Boys, right?
I think so. And I'm all for this being. And honestly, it's easier to go an hour on something when it is weekly because, you can get a little burned out when you talk about it like every other day.
It's true.
So I think this is a good thing. So I am more than pleased with The Boys being weekly. It makes me look forward to it every week too. Quite frankly, if your show suffers by not being a binge show, then it wasn't that great to begin with.
You've got some writing problems you need to address.
Yeah, that's my stance on it. Because I think all the streaming shows that I love would work week to week. I think Stranger Things would kill week to week. I think that show would be perfect
do
week
as well.
to week.
I think every good show that we love that's traditional weekly, you can binge it. Sure, you can when it's finished, you can sit down and binge it, and it'll work.
Oh, for sure, yeah. But there's tons. I think Mindhunter would have been great week to week. I feel like,
yeah.
There's tons of shows we've done on streaming services that have been great. Obviously, Expanse.
There's maybe even some problems in Mindhunter specifically towards the back half of that season that you probably wouldn't notice as much if they were weekly.
Yeah, maybe. But hey, let us know what you thought of episode 4 of The Boys in the comments below. Please do liking super important. It's the cheapest, and I say cheapest, it's free. It's the freest way to support us. Hitting that like button. You can also, of course, support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month. And you can get some bonuses for your troubles. Catch us on Twitter at mail_fuzz for channel updates. But otherwise, that is us. Also, check out our reviews of Lovecraft Country, which is the other sort of big show that we're doing week to week right now from HBO. And again, a lot of strong political thematic topics in there.
And apparently also some terrible people on the internet with some very wrong opinions about it.
Oh, of course there is. I mean, it does not surprise me. In fact, we didn't even mention that Homelander's watching Taxi Driver and reading it the wrong way. Like every person who's read Taxi Driver the wrong way and doesn't understand that it's a... I'm going to get into it. I'm going to get into it.
Taxi Driver, Fight Club, Joker, all potential films that I mean, two of those are better than the other. Don't get me wrong, but all have a very particular terrible fan base who read them the very wrong way.
Yes, they don't understand what it's actually saying about the lead character. But hey ho, that is us. Thank you very much once again. And that was intentional. That was so intentional putting that in there. They knew. What they were doing. And
Homelander with the Confederate flag cape as well.
Oh,
on the side of the barn.
Oh, because when they get into North Carolina, yeah. That was a visual, for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, there you go. That is The Boys. Feel free to discuss the episode as well. It's always fun to see more things that we maybe glossed over or missed. Like we said, there was stuff we forgot to mention last episode that were very valid to add on. So that is us. Thank you once again. We'll see you next time. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?